found friends.
I found sports.
I found my passion.
I found family.
I found my calling. I found a place to call home. Discover what you can find at Marietta by visiting marietta.edu today.
Coming up today on NewsCenter 15, we'll have stories on our local news, our national news, and even get some entertainment news from Hollywood.
And the latest information on a shooting in Germany.
Well, stay tuned for these stories and more. WCMO Channel 15 starts right now. Good afternoon and welcome to Thursday's edition of NewsCenter 15. I'm Cooper Holmes.
And I'm George Riffle.
Topping our news this afternoon, the Boy Scouts of America face an uncertain future after filing for bankruptcy to deal with the mountain of sexual abuse lawsuits. Some former Scouts are worried about the damage to the Scouts' wholesome reputation. The organization hopes to set up a victims' compensation fund for potentially thousands of men who were molested as youngsters by leaders. But battles lie ahead over such things as access to internal Scout files, the deadline for filing claims, and whether local Scout councils can be forced to sell campgrounds or other assets.
The president of South American soccer body, CONMEBOL, has expressed his dismay at FIFA's decision to cancel a meeting on its council in Paraguay next month. Alejandro Dominguez said in an interview with the Associated Press at CONMEBOL's headquarters on Wednesday that he was surprised by the reasoning offered by FIFA. Those included concerns about long-distance travel in the middle of viral outbreak in China, high costs, and environmental issues. The decision to move the council's meeting from Assulen back to Zurich on March 20th came shortly after a renewed alliance between the South American entity and European counterpart UNIFA, who have both criticized the new format of FIFA's Club World Cup.
Hey George, I wonder what the weather's going to be like out today.
Here to provide our first look at the weather is Landon Santini.
Thank you very much, George. Well, we're going to be having a pretty dry and rather warmer than usual week for the rest of the week. Right now it feels like 31 outside with cloudy conditions outside, so that's really good. We have a moderate UV index of 3. That's fairly good. Air quality is fair and fine. Everyone is capable of breathing perfectly just fine, and the pollen count is incredibly low. That's good news. I've only sneezed once today. And the norths are going to be hitting us about 7 miles per hour from the north. Humidity is not quite 50-50, but pretty close to it at a 49% reading. And we've got our sunset currently scheduled for 8 after 6 this evening. So as I've just said, we're going to be having a pretty calm weekend. There's going to be no precipitation for the rest of the days leading up to it, but as we get to the weekend itself, that's another story, but I'll get to that when I come back later on for the 5-day forecast. So until then, back to you guys at the desk.
German police say several people have been shot to death in the city of Hanau. The DPA news agency reports that police say people were killed, but it is not clear exactly what happened in Wednesday evening's incident. It was also not immediately clear how many people are dead. Hanau is near Frankfurt. Regional public broadcaster Heischer Rundfunk reported without citing sources that an attack took place in a hookah lounge in the center of the city. The perpetrator or perpetrators then apparently went to another part of the city where shots were fired in another hookah lounge.
An Italian prosecutor says the captain of a Lebanese flagged cargo ship has been arrested in northern Italy for an investigation of suspected international arms trafficking between Turkey and Libya. Prosecutor Francesco Pinto told the Associated Press on Wednesday night that the Lebanese captain of the vessel, berthed in the port city of Genoa, was under investigation for allegedly delivering rockets, tanks, and other military equipment to Libya in violation of a UN embargo. Pinto says the captain is suspected of carrying out the trafficking with as yet unidentified Turkish military officials. The prosecutor says the investigation in Italy follows up on allegations made by a Lebanese sailor who is a crew member on the 40-year-old cargo ship, the Bana.
When WCMO returns, we'll learn more about the growing coronavirus cases in China
and Mississippi's reason for moving inmates.
Stay with us.
I never chew tobacco.
I don't drink much.
Never smoked a cigarette in my life.
HPV. Isn't that about cervical cancer?
What does that have to do with oral cancer? HPV? Didn't know that.
New virus cases in China are continuing to fall as protective suit-clad inspectors go door to door in the epicenter to find every infected person. Wuhan, where the new form of the coronavirus emerged, is on the final day of a campaign to root out anyone with symptoms who authorities have missed so far. Mainland China is reporting 1,749 new cases and 136 additional deaths. Beijing is showing signs of coming back to life, with road traffic up from vitally nothing a week ago. While most restaurants, stores, and office buildings remain closed, others have reopened. In Japan, the much criticized quarantine of a cruise ship is ending Wednesday with 621 cases. Medical experts have called the quarantine a failure.
Mississippi has moved more inmates out of a state prison rocked by deadly violence. Governor Tate Reeves says about 50 inmates were moved out of Unit 29 at the Mississippi State Penitentiary in Parchman, taken to a privately run prison nearby. The move comes as the state's prison system is under investigation by the U.S. Justice Department. Reeves says more than 500 more inmates will be transferred to the private prison during the next several weeks. That will leave Unit 29 mostly empty. At least 18 Mississippi inmates have died since the late December, many under violent circumstances.
An investigation has found several former patients who allege that a late University of Michigan physician sexually abused them during exams going back decades. The Ann Arbor School said Wednesday that it set up a hotline for others to come forward with information about Robert E. Anderson, the former director of University Health Service and athletic team physician who worked at the school from 1968 to 2003. He died in 2008. A former student contacted the university's athletic director in 2018 allegedly misconduct during medical exams. Several others have seen alleged similar abuse from the 1970s to the 1990s. A Washington, D.C. based law firm is investigating.
An Iowa woman is charged with murder after police say she bound and gagged her husband for hours, leading to his death. West Des Moines police say officers arrested 41-year-old Go-On Park on Wednesday. The charges stem from death Saturday of her husband, 41-year-old Sung Nam. Court records say Park used zip ties to bind Nam's feet, hands to a chair, jammed clothing into his mouth, and used duct tape to attach towel over his head. Officers were called Saturday evening and found Nam on the floor. He was pronounced dead at the hospital. Park is being held at the Dallas County Jail.
Coming up next, we look at our upcoming stories about a certain visit at Ohio University.
We'll also get the latest news from Hollywood.
And what can we expect from our weather? A dry rest of the week, but a rather wet and dreary weekend. More on that when I come back for the 5-day forecast after the break.
Where are we?
We're at Marietta College.
This is where we live at Marietta College.
Conservative gun rights activist Caitlin Bennett, also known as the viral Kent State Gun Girl, is calling for action from President Trump after she says she was harassed by liberal students while shooting a video for her YouTube channel at Ohio University on Monday. In an interview on Fox and Friends First with host Heather Childers, Bennett said that her intent was to shoot a simple President's Day trivia video with her friend and fellow Second Amendment supporter Joel Patrick when they were confronted by angry protesters on the Athens campus. She was quoted as saying, "So we were just asking simple questions like who were the first 3 presidents? A mob quickly formed around us. They didn't want me there," she explained.
A man who was charged with stealing a pair of Lamborghini SUVs from a Boston area dealership says he was only picked up and wasn't involved with the theft. The 2 Lamborghinis and a Kia crashed in Malden around 8 a.m. Tuesday. The Kia's driver was taken to the hospital. Elijah McKinney was arrested at the scene. He pleaded not guilty Tuesday to receiving a stolen motor vehicle and resisting arrest. He was released to home confinement in order to wear a GPS monitor. McKinney told WCVB-TV that he regrets his involvement, but he wasn't there when the cars were stolen and was picked up later.
Ryan Newman has been released from a Florida hospital 2 days after a frightening crash on the final lap of the Daytona 500. He had been hospitalized since Monday night. Roush Fenway Racing says 42-year-old driver was fully alert and walking around the hospital in the hours before he left. No details about his injuries have been released. His team has since updated its roster for the weekend's race at Las Vegas, with Ross Chaston filling in for Newman. There is no timetable for Newman's return. In entertainment news today, two big stars come clean about some personal issues.
Here to fill us in on the latest news in Hollywood is Cole Encore.
What do you have for us, Cole?
All right, hey guys, so starting off today, Ben Affleck has opened up to the New York Times about his divorce from Jennifer Garner, giving up playing Batman, and his long battle with alcoholism. In the Times profile, Affleck talks about his 3 trips to rehab and the friends, including A-list stars, who have helped him work towards sobriety. It's no coincidence his next film, The Way Back, has Affleck playing a man with a drinking problem who winds up in rehab. The drama opens up on March 6th. Meanwhile, Ozzy Osbourne has canceled his North American tour due to his health problems. The 71-year-old music legend went public last month with his diagnosis of Parkinson's disease and says now he needs further treatment. In a statement, he thanked his fans for their patience, promising those who have purchased concert tickets that they will get refunds and that they'll be the first fans able to buy tickets when Ozzy eventually returns to the road. In Hollywood, I'm Cole Encore. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, Cole. Now we'll head back over to Landon Santini for another look at our weather.
How does it look out there, Landon?
Well, as far as our neck of the woods is concerned, as I've said multiple times, we're pretty high and dry for the most of the day. As you can see, a good chunk of the precipitation that our country is receiving right now is happening towards the south of us, towards Florida and the Gulf of Mexico. So it's not quite towards the Mexican border, but it's pretty close. As for us, that means for today, we pretty much don't have anything to worry about in terms of rain or sleet or snow or hail, except maybe there are a few cold patches to the north and south of our neighboring state of West Virginia, down here in the southern area near Beckley, and in the northern area close to the tri-state area of Pennsylvania, Ohio, and West Virginia. So we don't got much to worry about today. Now, as for the next 5 days, we'll take you into the 5-day forecast. As I said, we're going to be experiencing a relatively calm weekend with partly cloudy conditions on Friday and a high of 37, a low of 19. But then as we get into the weekend, we're going to be experiencing some temperatures warming up a little bit with some sunny conditions and a high of 46, and gets even warmer on Sunday with a high of 52 and a low of 33, more partly sunny conditions. But then as we get into the next work week, it's going to be a bit of a downpour and a cool down after that, with scattered showers, a high of 44 and a low of 41, and fluctuating a little bit more into the warmth once we get a little bit of a break from that on Tuesday, with a high of 51 and a low of 32, mostly cloudy conditions. So, like I've said, we've got a pretty calm, warm, dry end to the week, and we're going to be experiencing a bit of a heat wave. But then as we get into the next work week, you better start looking for your rain gear. We'll talk a little bit more about that when I come back for the recap later on at the end of the program. But until then, back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, Landon. When we come back, Andrew Konjevich will join us with an update from the world of sports.
See you in a few.
I think it goes around.
Come on, buddy.
I'm here for you. Oh, it's gonna be great. Look, look. Why is it so hard?
Let's go. We gotta get you in practice.
I read it. Look, and it's set.
Here's to the straggly ones, the first ones. But hey, I look good with this ones. The black, brown, red, and gray ones. The itchy ones. The ones grown by Dad. The ones grown for Dad. The I nearly didn't do it this year ones, and the absolutely filthy ones. They all raise awareness, raise funds, start conversations, and save lives. Because whatever you grow will save a bro. Learn more at Movember.com.
And now we're back with Andrew Konjevich for a look at sports.
From world records to life-changing stories, it seems like there is a lot going on in the world of sports.
Sure is, guys. The first story we have, the Los Angeles Kings have traded Stanley Cup winning goal scorer Alec Martinez to the Vegas Golden Knights for 2 second-round draft picks. Martinez has spent his entire career with the Kings, who drafted him in 2007. Although he has never scored more than 11 goals in a regular season, he earned a permanent place in franchise lore by scoring the series-winning overtime goals in both the Western Conference Finals and the Stanley Cup Final 6 years ago. Martinez was also a member of the Kings' first championship team in 2012. He has 62 goals and 136 assists in 597 career games, and he has 6 goals and 10 assists in 64 postseason games. Cavaliers' first-year coach John Balin will end a rough season by stepping down after 54 games. According to multiple reports on citing anonymous league sources, ESPN.com reported that Balin is expected to say goodbye to staff and players Wednesday when they return from the All-Star break. The 67-year-old former Michigan coach was a surprising hire by the Cavs last year because of his age and lack of any pro experience. Balin signed a 5-year contract. The final year was at a club option in May. Cleveland is just 14-40, the worst record in the Eastern Conference, and Balin struggled to gain his players' confidence or respect while the losses piled up. Mike Fiers is scheduled to start a split squad game for Oakland on Sunday in his first game action since revealing the Houston Astros cheating scheme. It has not been determined whether Fiers' spring training will come in the home game versus San Francisco or against Arizona on the road. Fiers went 15-4 last season, including the second no-hitter of his career, as the A's earned an AL wildcard spot. In a story published by The Athletic in November, Fiers said the Astros had stolen signs using camera in center field during the run to the 2017 World Series Championship. Fiers played on that team. Drew Brees announced Tuesday his plans to play for the New Orleans Saints during the 2020 season. Brees made the announcement on Instagram. It appeared he was on vacation in Hawaii when he posted his announcement that he was going to return for this year. There were questions over whether Brees was going to return to the Saints after missing time during the season because of an injury and the team's early playoff exit. He didn't exactly guarantee he would be back in the days after the playoff loss to the Minnesota Vikings. Well, that's all for me from the world of sports. I'm Andrew Konjevich. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, Andrew. Joining us now at the desk is Landon with the last look at our weather.
Well, we've had a pretty calm day today, and we're going to have a pretty calm weekend as we experiencing something of an increasing warm front all the way to the lovely day of Sunday. But then as we get into the next work week on Monday, we're going to have another bit of a downpour, cool down a little bit before picking up again slightly as we continue on in the week.
Yeah, I know personally I was hoping those warmer temperatures will start to come back through. But
oh, you should have seen the rain we had last week. The river was just getting not quite to flood level, but dangerously teetering on the edge there. Made me a little nervous there, to be honest.
Well, we'll make sure to keep an eye out for that and monitor our great stories coming up. Thank you for joining us for Thursday's edition of WCMO TV, Channel 15 at noon 30 and 6:30. From all of us here at the station, we wish you a great weekend.